joining, and you had people that were going to join that could not make it. We understand. We do have a good attendance tonight, but however, we all know that not everyone has the same schedule. Some people have meetings, and so we're going to be making these available very quickly online for you to be able to access if you missed it. Obviously, it's always best to be on live if you can, because when you are on live, then you're able to hear it first. So that's very important. There's some things that I want to share with you tonight. Attitude is, in my opinion, one of the greatest tools a networker can have. And one of my first mentors in network marketing was a gentleman by the name of Jim Rohn, and we all know him by his writings of the Seasons of Life. In his writings on the Seasons of Life, there was something that he wrote inside, and I want to quote that to you tonight. It goes very smoothly, in my opinion, to tell you exactly how we should behave, exactly how we should think, exactly how we should feel about our efforts toward success in network marketing. And if you're taking notes, I want you to write down how many times the word effort is mentioned in this quote. And I want you to also write down how many times the word attitude is mentioned in this quote as well. So, Jim Rohn, The Seasons of Life. The only limitation placed on our abilities is our inability to easily recognize our unlimited nature. It takes effort to become aware of our staggering, limitless abilities. It takes effort to become enthusiastic over a cause or an occupation. It takes effort to continue when our results, as well as our friends, tell us to give up trying. It takes effort to feel right about everything that happens, as the joy as well as the sorrows of life. And it takes efforts to learn to love ourselves above all others, especially when we are so consciously aware of our failures, doubts, and our tragedies. It does not, however, take effort to fail. It requires little else than a slowly deteriorating attitude about our present, our future, and about our lives, about ourselves. It's ironic that one of the few things in this life over which we have total control is our own attitudes. And yet most of us live our entire life behaving as though we had no control whatsoever. By our attitude, we decide to read or not to read. By our attitude, we decide to try or to give up. By our attitude, we blame ourselves for our truth or lie, act or procrastinate, advance or recede. And by our own attitude, we and we alone actually decide whether to succeed or fail. Jim Rohn, The Seasons of Life. One of my favorite passages. Jim Rohn is, in my opinion, one of the greatest orators and one of the greatest mentors that we've been able to have throughout our industry and our profession of network marketing. And it's given us the ability to learn from people like him and any of those that are top professionals in the industry. One of the common denominators of professionals in our industry is you want to learn more. You surround yourself with winners. You surround yourself with people who are absolute superstars so that you can gain experience and wisdom from where they have gone before. That's very important. If everyone had to learn on their own, think about how slowly everything would move forward in what we're able to accomplish and what we're able to achieve. Everyone would be experimenting on their own lives. One of the things that we spoke about during our trip to Korea was just that. There's so much experimenting going on. And when you don't have a system, everyone is going in this direction or this direction. They're all figuring it out on their own, and no one is going in the same direction. So therefore, it's like everyone Let's go to the other side of this forest, and everyone just goes in every direction. No one's going in one certain path. Thankfully, in network marketing, this industry has been around for many decades, and we have a success path to follow. It's not an experiment. When you try to do everything on your own, figure it out on your own, you are experimenting not only on yourself and your own success, but you're also experimenting on every person that you bring into your organization. And guess what? Most people fail just because of that. We do not need to fail. We need to succeed. We must have goals. Years ago, there was a study that was done at Harvard Business School. In Harvard Business School, this study was very, in my opinion, very enlightening to the same exact subject of setting goals. The study revealed an overwhelming 83% of the graduates of Harvard Business School had no goals at all. Isn't that surprising? If I were to have guessed, I would not have guessed that. If I had invested my time and my hard-earned money, or even if I had gotten a scholarship, which you can't, if I had been my way paid to Harvard Business School, I would not have left that school without setting goals in my life. And one of the things that I would have expected that students there would have learned is how to set goals. And overwhelmingly, 83% of the students that they had surveyed after graduating from Harvard Business School, 83% had no goals at all. 14% had specific goals, but they weren't written down. I want you to hear every little point that I'm making, and I hope you're taking notes. Still, their earnings, even though they were not written down, their earnings were 300% of those 83% that had no goals at all. So even though they didn't write their goals down, they had goals, and they were making 3 times as much as those that had no goals at all. Now, but then there were the 3%. And you're going to hear us consistently talk about the 3% that make the most money, even in network marketing. The 3% who had written goals were earning approximately 10 times or 1,000% than the 83% who had no goals at all. Isn't that amazing? Now, these are just bullet points to help you to understand exactly why we do what we do. If you're building your business, you need to set goals. You need to have a standard. You need to have your entire team on a system so that every single step is understood as you move through your process. I was talking to one of our leaders just this last week over in Korea, and one of the things is this person, I hear this in every country, by the way, is you'll have a strong leader and they'll say, our culture or our country, this works best. And I've seen people inside of the United States here domestically where you'll see a superstar that absolutely explodes a certain region inside the country. But yet, just because what he or she does in that area in Los Angeles or the area in New York or wherever they may be, doesn't mean it's going to work all over the United States. Doesn't mean it's going to work with everyone else's abilities, talents, charisma, whatever it may be. So you may have different places throughout the world where something works better. Maybe something works better in Korea. Maybe something else works better in Japan. Maybe something else works better in Colombia, and something else works better in the United States. Maybe something works great in LA, but maybe it doesn't work that well in New York. Well, which would work better is what is necessarily not the best. Let me explain. If you have a good system, something that is well placed together with common denominators so that it doesn't waver from what works, it stays on track with the common denominators in a profession that has been around for decades and has proven what will work and what will not work. Anything else is either geographical or it is by the standards of someone's particular talents. But if it works good and it has all the common denominators, it's going to work everywhere. Now, if you build a large organization, you cannot afford to learn 20 different systems just because you have 20 different locations that have 20 different characteristics and 20 different cultures that work 20 different ways that work great. You have to keep everyone synergized on one particular system that's going to be able to work internationally, so that when you teach that system, when everyone works together, you're able to easily train, easily duplicate it, and everyone can succeed all over the world, all over the United States, all over whatever country that you're in. So you may have a system that's better, but maybe it's only working in your area. That system may not work in Japan. That may not work in South America. But if you have a system that is good, that has all those common denominators, and everyone is working in the same direction, guess what? You're going to have a well-beaten path straight to success. It's going to cause everyone to reach those levels much faster than even a much greater system that doesn't work everywhere. So it's called synergy, and it works phenomenal. So the sustained prosperity system is built on a synergistic, systematic approach that allows you to be able to duplicate anywhere in the world. And if you apply this system, you're not going to fall off track. You may not see all the sights on your way, and you may not have all the bells and whistles, and you may not be able to enjoy all the experiments that someone else wants to do on your team with all their new gadgets and their new whatevers, but you're going to get there. This is business. If you were starting a bank down the highway, say I invest money and Mario invests some money and some others is on this call, we all invest our money together and we open up a community bank, we're going to create a bank with enthusiasm, with excitement, but we're also going to open up this bank with gravity. Gravity in business, solidity, proven denominators that work. The banking industry has been around for many, many decades, hundreds of years, but over the last 100 years, it has defined itself to what truly works. Now, our industry is much like banking. It's been around for more than 60 years on a level that causes everyone to be able, that are strong leaders, that train very well, that carry wisdom to the table, to share their wisdom with each other through the form of communication and collaboration, so that everyone eventually comes to a point where this is what truly works. If you walk into a bank, what are you going to see? If me and Mario and the rest of you want to join our monies together and start a new bank, we're not going to experiment. We know what works. We know that we need a teller's counter. We know that we need a drive-through and an ATM and a loan officer and some other people that you see featured in a typical bank scenario. And the first thing that you want people to feel when they walk in the door is you want them to feel security, their money's safe, their investment's safe as they put money into your bank or they open up an account. They want to know that everything is safe. They want to feel that security. In the same way in network marketing, when you're bringing new individuals into your team, if you don't have a system in place, if you don't have a well-defined common denominator system within your organization, that new individual entering into your team is going to feel insecure. They're going to feel uncomfortable. They're going to feel as though they're walking into the door with their business as they've signed on that dotted line and bought that package. Their goal is to reach success. However, if you're not giving them instruction, if you're not giving them a system to ride on, they're going to feel as though they have to experiment. It's almost like having a bank on a roadside with a little sign that says lemonade. That's about the level that some network marketers build their business. And it's sad because we do have the knowledge and we have the wisdom, not just domestically, but internationally, to help you get to the top. Now, we're going to be sharing some details. One of the things that we've been going over and over is the psychology of the steps in how to win people in your business. Your steps must be defined. If your steps are defined, they must also have some level of adjustment. Every person that you're dealing with is different, and every person that is the networker, which is the sponsor, the potential sponsor, is also different. If you're working with people who you know very well, obviously the trust level is already there. They trust you if they're a friend or a relative or a close acquaintance, someone that you work with on a daily basis. Those people are very close to you. However, you still have not associated their trust with the company or the products of which you represent. So if you're going to associate them with the trust of the products and the company, then you need to move in those directions to develop and establish that trust. Once that trust has been established, and obviously you can move faster through the first steps of establishing trust if you know this person very well. If you don't know this person very well, you need to take your time and establish that trust so that you don't appear to be someone who is erratic or attacking them as if you're some desperate salesperson. Then the next steps, you go into the commitment stage. And you need to keep good notes as you're following through your steps of follow-up so that you can understand what your sweet spot is, understand where most of the people within your organization are joining your team within the step process. And if you're keeping up with this, you're able to also see where your weak spots are within your steps that you're following. And then after the commitment steps, then you're going to go into what we call the confirmation steps. The confirmation steps need to be a continuing step follow-up, because many times people will make a commitment to join your team, but if you do not follow up consistently even after that, because many times they have not informed you that they have committed to start the business with you. They have not told you. They've made the decision. They've had their conversation with their spouse, or they've had a lot of thinking that they've had ability to do without you around. They've made a decision. They've gained some excitement. They're ready to start. They're putting their funds into place. And then all of a sudden, you quit following up. So the confirmation of the commitment needs to be a continuation of the follow-up steps. So we have the first steps to build trust, to establish trust. The next steps are to establish commitment. And the next steps are to confirm those commitments that have been made. Now, once you have done this, you're going to see a conversion rate on an average of usually somewhere around 30% of the people that you bring into this step program. Where if you experiment on these people, or if you don't have a defined step-by-step method, you're lucky to have 1 out of 10 people, maybe 10%, if you're good, to join your business. But if you can establish a 30% conversion rate, and the more you do it, the better you're going to be. If you have a 30% conversion rate, we're going to show you the dynamics of what can be accomplished here, and I'm going to go into that tonight. I'm going to be sharing my screen with you here for just a moment. Hold on one moment as I share my screen. Thank you for your patience. So take a look at this image. Now, the concept is simply this. If you gain 2 prospects per day, and that's what our goals is. Our goal is to have 2 new prospects each day, whether it's a friend, a relative, or a stranger, a cold market, warm market, hot market, no matter who these people are that you're bringing into your organizational funnel. You're changing the scenario when you have a consistency of placing people into your funnel. It's not enough to say, I'm going to put 2 people in this week and 30 next week. That's not the same. You're going to have a better success rate if you have a consistency of 2 new prospects each day and you work with the follow-up system that we have designed. If you work with the follow-up system that we've designed, you won't be overwhelmed. You're going to be working within a spectrum of ability. You're not going to put too many people in at first. So many networkers, they join a company, and within the first few hours, they're going to have 50, 60 people to follow up with because they're trying to do a major blitz within a few hours or a few days. This is, in my opinion, a very heavy mistake. It's more appropriate to add 2 people a day into your funnel. And let me explain, and you'll see the difference as I explain this in detail. I've been speaking a lot over the last week, so I'm going to drink water often. Thank you for your patience. So look at this calendar. This is not This is a generic calendar. It can apply to any month of any year. If you add 2 people per day for 5 days per week, you're going to be 10 people that are new prospects each week. You're going to have 2 each day and 10 new prospects each week. Now, what is a prospect? You need to understand that a prospect is someone that you have made aware of what you do. You don't need to have sold them on anything. You don't need to have tried to make them feel uncomfortable by being so pushy. The point here is switching them from the title of lead to prospect. A lead is someone who is unaware, and a prospect is someone who is aware. So a prospect is what we're talking about. Everyone on this calendar is a prospect. You have shared with them what you do. You don't go into detail about the ingredients of your product or what it does and how many things that it does and how much money your company has made over the last 5 years or what have you. You don't go into all those details. You save that information for a later time. This is more important to switch a lead to a prospect by just making an introduction, a soft introduction of sharing with them how excited you are about what you do, and you're excited about meeting them. You're excited about connecting with them. It's that simple. You're breaking the ice. You're setting up the next appointment. This is not a time to sell. This is not a time to get a yes. If you're moving too fast to get a yes, again, you're going to get a no very quickly. So if you want more no's and you want a less percentage of conversion rate, you need to push hard to try to get a sell. If you want a higher conversion rate, in the first few steps, you're all about building a relationship. This is relationship marketing business. So 2 new prospects per day, 10 per week. If you do this 4 weeks out of the month, and you need to be consistent, don't have breaks. Scatter your breaks with the 2 days a week. Don't have long extended breaks in your follow-up. If you do, you're going to find that your prospects are going to evaporate. It's just like a pipe. It's like you're putting your prospects into a funnel. It's like a big hot pipe, and that pipe is hot. And if it's hot enough, which it is because your company is hot, your products are hot, your opportunity is hot, your excitement is hot, your future is hot, you're ready to move forward, and you know you want success. So it's all about moving in a very steamy pipe of enthusiasm. So as you're placing these prospects in there, you need to keep placing them on a consistent basis, or they're just going to evaporate into air, and you're going to wonder what happened. It's because if you're not consistently following up with a organized fashion of business, the people that you're attempting to reach and sponsor, they're watching you as much as you're trying to reach them. They're watching you. They're trying to decide if they're going to do business with you. They're trying to decide if you're someone to align themselves with to take their business to the top. If you're not doing it in such a way to where you're systematically moving forward through the steps very rapidly, and I say rapidly not in the sense where you're going to take them through all 15 steps in one day. You can take them through 1 or 2 steps or maybe 3 in a day, but don't go too fast and don't go slow. Rapidly is the word. 2 per day, 40 per month is what it's going to add up to if you have 4 weeks. Now, these 40 prospects, if you have a 30% conversion rate, which you will with this system, you're going to have approximately a 30% conversion rate. That means you're going to end each month with 12 new brand partners, distributors, representatives, ever how your company defines that new person coming into your company. 12 new brand partners. Now, those of you that are listening on this call, you're saying, yes, that's exactly what I want. I want 12 new brand partners. If you can build your business off of 12 new brand partners, and if you do it this way, you can. If you come in the company heavy and hot with 25 or 30 new leads right off the first day, and you drive it really hard, most likely the only people you're going to win is the people you're going to lose in less than 2 or 3 months, because they're not going to stick with you. Those types of people that make that quick of commitment most of the time are also making quick commitments to walk away. And some people join you just because they know you and they don't want to tell you no. They're not really interested in the business. You need to go through the step process, not just to win them, but to win the right ones and to win the correct ones. And remember, surround yourself with people that you want to be around, because once they start making money, you cannot get rid of them. I say this on a consistent basis because I have been there, done that. And the last thing you want is someone to be in your core group that you can't get along with, that your personalities conflict. So in this process of follow-up, you are defining your team, and your team is defining you. You're going to get 40 new prospects in the first month. It's not going to be overworked. You're going to feel very relaxed. But isn't it amazing that you're going to have 12 new brand partners by the end of the first month? Powerful. Now look at the second month. Month number 2, you plus 12 equals 13. You had 12 new prospects from your first month. Now you have 12 new brand partners your first month. Now you have 12 new brand partners that are going to get their 12, because you're going to put them into a system that doesn't put pressure on anyone. 2 per day, 5 days a week, following the steps. This is going to bring you in 156 new brand partners in your second month. And this works. We're seeing it. And we're seeing it very consistently with people who have no network marketing experience. And they have only one thing going for them, is they're following the system of simple steps that take them to a place where people, by the time they make a commitment, they're excited about the company, they're in love with the products, and they're in love with the company and you. Now look at the third month. You plus your 12 plus 156 equals 169. 2 per day, 5 days a week. This develops 12 new brand partners for every one that's in your team. It comes to 2,028 brand partners. This is by the end of the third month. Have we seen this? We have proven it over and over and over. Not only have we proven it, but we've shown that it's the most stable groups within the organizations that follow this system. And not only are they meeting these numbers, they're exceeding these numbers. And that's why we're able to see teams adding 3,000, 3,500 people within a month. Now, what if you had 100 brand partners in your organization? Many of you listening to this call, you have many more than 100 brand partners in your organization. What if you took the top 100 people in your organization that were very enthusiastically doing the business like you? They wanted success. They just need to plug into a system. What if you did exactly what we just did, but not just by yourself, but 100 people in your organization did it together? You would have 202,800 new distributors, brand partners, representatives in your company. Now, we obviously know that not everyone's going to work it like you, even if they seem to want it as much as you do. So if you have a 90% fail rate and you only are 10% successful within this system with 100 leaders doing it, you are adding about 20,000 people to your organization. What would that do to your income and your check? That would turn it into one of the most powerful incomes that you could imagine within the network marketing arena, and we're seeing it over and over and over. Now, that's what I want to share with you on this particular slide. I'm going to stop the screen share here for just a moment and talk to you about this. Now, what the team is doing around the world and different teams throughout the world, and I don't just train this within my team, I train it within other teams as well throughout other companies and different organizations. What we're doing is very simply, and you see me post online some of the teams that are actually following the system, you'll see this sheet. It's a very simple sheet. It's 8.5 by 11. Many of you have been emailed this that have registered for this program. It's just a simple sheet. It gives you the ability to put the person's name, their age, their gender, the source of how you met them, whether they were referred by someone or if you met them in a restaurant or you met them at a country club or whatever it might be. And it has 15 steps where you can list and keep notes, a diary of every step that you're taking your prospect through the follow-up. Now, we all know that the first steps are about building that trust, establishing the relationship, establishing it to a point where they're willing to truly listen to what you have to say, because that old saying, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So it's important to establish trust. Once you have established that trust, move forward. That person is going to be willing to step into meetings with you. That person is going to be willing to listen to your details. That person is going to be willing to watch a video. That person is going to be willing to go into a meeting with hundreds of other people. Or maybe come to your house, sit down and have a social and actually go through every little process. Now, I want to make a point here. There's always the question of, what about the website? This is a little segue that I'm going to throw at you, and I want you to really gain some wisdom from this. Most company websites are not a fun site. They're a business site. It's to do business. It's not to play with. One of the worst mistakes that network marketers do is they have their website listed everywhere so that people can just go to their website. And by the time they go to the website, they check it out, they find out what company it is, they Google it, they find out as soon as they Google it what the negatives are of every company in the world is saying about your company, because there's competition out there, and we have very unethical people in the business of a lot of companies, as you know, and they're going to play unethical, and they're going to pitch negative information about your company. This has been going on for years. One of the worst things that you can do is to send someone your website. I never send anyone my website. This, in my opinion, is a terrible mistake. Why? Let me give you an example. Now, I'm not saying don't take them to your website. I said don't send them to your website. I teach that when a person is ready for commitment and you feel that commitment taking on throughout the steps of your process of follow-up, don't send them to your website, but make your website one of the steps of follow-up. That step is one that floats. That step floats throughout your 15 steps. It is when you're saving it for that moment when you're able to actually see if they're at that moment of commitment stage. This is the most powerful step that you can imagine. So instead of sending them to your website, you're either in front of them with your iPad or with your tablet or your computer, or you're calling them up and you're saying to them very distinctly, and I would say, hey, Mario, this is what I want you to do. When can you be in front of your computer? Oh, really? Great. Okay. 15 minutes from now, I'll give you time. I want you to be in front of your computer. I don't want to send you to my website. I want to take you to it. I want to walk through every step of the website with you, because as you know, there's so many buttons on these websites. And so many people, when they get on a website they've never been on before, even though we're on it all the time, they're uncomfortable. And the last thing that I want you to feel is any anxiety or discomfort going to my website, because I don't want you to pushing buttons, clicking any buttons that you don't know where you're going. I want you to feel comfortable, and I don't want you to feel like you're pushing yourself into a corner. Okay, so I want to walk you through my website. So 15 minutes, I'm going to call you back, and we're going to do that. So 15 minutes later, I call Mario back up. I say, hey, Mario, are you in front of your computer? And he says, yes. Okay, great. Now, I want you to go to this website. I sent it to you in a text on Messenger and Facebook if it makes it easier for you. Now, just click on that website. Okay, yeah, you see that screen. I want you to go down until you see that orange button, and I want you to click. Don't click on anything else. Just click on the orange button. I'm just going to take you through this very quickly. So as I walk him through it, I'm going to take him to the page of where it's time to purchase products. And it's going to give the different options of the different packages of coming into the business. Now, we're going to use the Girl Scout method here. We don't ask people to join our company. We don't ask them, do you want to join? That's terrible. If you have followed up with your system, you're going to already have their trust in yourself, in your products, in your company. At the time that you take them to your website, it's at that moment that you know that you can walk them through your website and you're going to get a good thermometer reading of exactly where their commitment is. In fact, it might be at that moment, because you don't want to take them to your website too soon. You won't, and eventually you're going to get to the place in your experience where you're going to know exactly where and when to take them to that site. You're going to know when their interest is exactly at the right moment. Now, Girl Scout approach. What is the Girl Scout approach? When Girl Scouts come up to your door, they don't knock on your door and ask you, do you want to buy Girl Scout cookies? In fact, it's totally contrary to that. They knock on your door, you come to the door, and they tell you they're the Girl Scouts and they have Girl Scout cookies, and they ask you, how many boxes do you want and what flavors? Which ones? They don't ask you if, they ask you how many and which kind. If you will practice this approach when you're walking people through your website, after you have established the trust, you're going to find that immediately that person is going to give you a reading of how much they feel that they can afford. They're going to give you an understanding of if they need to wait 1 week or 2 weeks before they can register for your company. Most of the time, at that moment, when you're taking them to that sheet on your website, that page that gives them the options of your different packages or your way of coming into the company, at that moment, you're also going to see a large conversion rate of people immediately in front of you signing up in your company, registering as a new partner with you. And now you have sponsored a new person. Your conversion rate goes out of the roof if you practice these principles correctly. Now, why am I saying this? It's one thing to have steps. It's another thing to define how you work your steps. Your steps must be worked in such a way that you're doing it the same way throughout your entire organization. So if I'm doing it and one of my team members 50 levels down is doing it the exact same way, I've done a good job training. If we're doing it 1,000 different ways, then it's obviously not sufficient. It's not efficient, and it's not effective. It's going to cause everyone, like I said, to go through the forest in 1,000 different directions. Now, excuse me. It's important that you define all your steps, and it's also important that you define each step individually. So if I was having a home meeting in my home, I would want all of my organization to be trained on how to handle those home meetings. What do they do? What video do they play? What information do they hand out at this particular meeting? What refreshments should be used? I always train everyone, make sure the refreshments are duplicable. In other words, don't grill out filet mignon and have all these other different high-level expenses going out when you have people at your home. Because the people that you're bringing into your team, they might not be able to afford that every time they have a meeting. You need to keep it simple. I suggest keep it healthy, keep it simple, and have plenty of water and juice and drinks like that around. It's very important to make sure that everyone has hangout time, social time after the meeting, because that's when most of the good discussions take place. In my basement, when I started years ago, I put out camping chairs, and I had 40 to 50 people every Tuesday and Thursday night. And I'm defining a home meeting. If you're going to have home meetings, do it consistently every week. Make sure that you do not erratically schedule your home meetings. If you want to move fast, define your home meetings specifically on certain nights and do it every week, whether you have anyone show up or not. Why is this important? Let me give you an example. As I was inviting people to my home meeting, one of the beautiful benefits to scheduling it every Tuesday and Thursday night, now it might be a different night for you. Like I have a gentleman over in Korea right now, he does it every Sunday, 1 day a week. He started out with 9, next week he had 15, next week he had 24, and the next week it kept growing, it kept growing, it kept growing. Now he has over 4,000 people in his organization, and he's only been in business for about 4 or 5 months in our team. How does this work? This is a phenomenal gentleman. He teaches at the university. He's a PhD in environmental engineering, and he follows a system. Okay, started out with 9 people, 15, 24, and it kept growing from there. Now has over 4,000 brand partners in his organization because he follows a system of staying on the right track. One of the first advice that I gave him, have a meeting at your home and have it consistently every week. And when you invite people and they say no, we'll say, okay, we're going to have another one next week. Can you make it then? They say no, okay, we're going to have another one next week. That's the way I did with my Tuesday and Thursday evening meetings. If someone couldn't make it on one night, I knew I had another night scheduled, another night scheduled, another night, and it was consistent every week. So I never ran out of options. And eventually they'd either have to tell me, no, I'm not going to ever come, or yes, I'll be there. So it was a huge benefit for me to be able to establish consistency among my team. By the way, this gentleman right now that has over 4,000 people in his organization has expanded now to where they have 20 plus home meetings every day within his organization. Did you hear that? And he's only been in the business for less than 5 months. Now, wouldn't you like to have an organization like his in your team? Wouldn't you like to have 20 organizations like him in your team? Well, it's just this simple. Define consistency. Just like 2 per day, 5 days a week, consistent. Have the meeting scheduled and do it every day, every time, the same location every week. Don't change it up. Because if you change it up, people are going to start not feeling comfortable with where it's going to be the next time. If you need to have a change, make sure the only change is someone filling in for you because you can't be there. I'm defining consistency. Now, I'm also defining the home meeting patterns. I'm not defining your home meeting, but I'm defining the home meeting patterns. One of the things that I also suggest is if you're bringing prospects to your home meeting, make sure you have a guest that's doing the speaking, because you are not supposed to be your own higher source dynamic. You say, well, how can I do that? I consistently did meetings every Tuesday, every Thursday night, even though I outranked the people who were doing my meetings. It didn't matter. I sat there. I never taught. I never coached. I never presented one single time. I was bringing my prospects to the meeting, and my presenter and the room full of people and the environment and the atmosphere and the entire encapsulated meeting within itself of everything that was involved was the higher source dynamic. I was the potential sponsor. I did not speak. Now, again, this is one of the mistakes that people make in network marketing. They want to talk about everything. They want to teach everyone everything. And especially the people that are their prospects, they want their prospects to know how important they are. This is a lesson from wisdom. Let me give you an example. If you were going to church and you had a guest that you wanted to bring to your church, you would walk into church, you would sit down next to your guest, and you would go through that church service and listen to the pastor or the priest speak, and then you'd go home. A networker would have an attitude of walking in with their guest and walking up, pushing the preacher or pastor out of the pulpit and taking it over. That's networkers mentality. It doesn't work. You need a higher source dynamic. You need something other than yourself. It brings validity. validation to what you're talking to that prospect about. Talk very little, point, send them to a higher source dynamic. Take them to a higher source dynamic. The higher source dynamic is that home meeting. If you're having the home meeting, be the host. Be a great host. Be the friendly host. Create an environment so that that prospect wants to be around you. So that when you're creating that environment, that prospect feels like they belong. That's one of the number one tools in network marketing, is helping people to feel like they belong. Now, I'm going to give you a bullet of wisdom here about network marketing that you may not have ever perceived. Network marketing is very much a parallel to a church. So I don't want to be too religious here or anything like that, but I want to make a point. The people who make up a church, you have the leaders, and you have participants, and then you have spectators, right? There's always more spectators than there are participants. You're going to have people in the audience that are listening. They're constantly there, and they go home, but they're there. You're going to have people within your organization, in your network marketing business, that are leaders. You're going to have people who are participants, and you're going to have people who are spectators. You're going to have some people that you're thankful to have on your team because they're on auto ship on a weekly or a monthly basis. They're constantly purchasing your products or purchasing your services, and they're helping you build your organizational check. They're not necessarily the leader that you are, but they're always there. They may not make any money, but they enjoy the product, the benefits of the product, and they never leave you. If you're a smart network marketer, you're going to make sure that your participants and your leadership take in consideration the importance of people within your organization that are the spectators, because the spectators are the ones that make up 90% of your organizational check. You didn't expect to hear this, did you? Well, this is important information and wisdom coming from someone that's been in network marketing business for many, many years. You cannot get everyone to do what you do, but you need a large attendance within your organization so that you can actually build yourself a residual income. Now, let's look at this very carefully because I don't have much time left in this call. I want you to hear this part. The people who are the participants that may not ever make any money, they're still happy and they're still benefiting. How are they benefiting? Remember what I said about the home meeting. Make people feel welcome. Network marketing is one of the largest organizations in the world, has more people in it than most any organization in the world other than the church. And one of the things that it does, it helps people become themselves outside their own little box. There's so many people who are introverted, so many people that are not that outgoing. You've been to the party where you see that person over in the corner sipping on their little drink and they got their straw in their mouth and they're not communicating with anyone. You don't see that in network marketing. No matter what level of income, no matter what color of skin, no matter what background a person is, when you're in a network marketing business, everyone makes you feel important and welcome. This is one of the greatest benefits of being in a network marketing company is you have a place of belonging. And if you make people feel as though they belong, you have benefited them, you have absolutely helped their life. And many of those people that have joined your business, you've touched their heart. And some of those are going to eventually rise out of that introversion. Some of them are going to eventually rise out of that lack of interest in the business and going to join the leadership and the participants. Some of them are not, but all are benefited by the benefit of the products and especially the benefit of being treated well by you and your participants. Now, I want you to take this wisdom because next week we have some major things happening. We have a special guest next week. Mario is going to come on right now and he's going to talk about our special guest. Our special guest, by the way, after you introduce him for next week's call, Mario, I'm just going to say a few things about our next week's guest because I'm excited about next Thursday night. You want to invite as many people to this registration link that you have registered yourself with, and so they can get on the emails so they can be part of the call next week. we have one of the biggest superstars in the network marketing profession joining us as our guest next week. Mario Brown, my awesome partner.
Thanks, Jeff.
And someone who has always been by my side for the last 17 years. Thank you, Mario.
Thanks, Jeff. Another awesome webinar. We appreciate you sharing all your wisdom tonight. As Jeff mentioned, we do have another superstar joining us and going on, keeping it consistent. It will be at the same time, same night, same link, happening on Thursday. We have a superstar, Jordan Adler from Arizona, author of Beach Money, which is a bestseller on Amazon. And he's a very sought after author and entrepreneur, and we're very excited to have him on the call next week. Other things I wanted to mention real quick, Jeff, if that's all right. Some other things, for example, the sheets that he mentioned for the following up and the different steps. If you have not received those, email Jeff. Also, I want to remind you that this call is being recorded. I want to thank you all for joining us. We had a pretty good turnout. We appreciate you for joining us live, but a lot of people request also the recording to listen to it again and again. And so if you want the recording or if you want the sheets, you need to email Jeff, and that is jeff@jeffwelch.com. All right?
And that's Jeff with one F.
That's right.
Yeah, Jeff with one F at jeff1fwelch.com. So I look forward to, and actually the emails that you're sent after you register, you can just reply to that email with a request. And you don't have to say a lot. Just say that that you haven't received your ebook of the chapter of the winning approach, and you haven't received the other sheets yet. But also, if you will please, when you do send those emails, if you've been participating in our webinars, send us a little testimonial, and we're going to be starting to place these testimonials on the website, and it helps everyone to understand exactly how many people it is helping. And I appreciate you, Mario. I want you to know that I had a great time with you over in Korea this last week. And we're all going to enjoy Jordan in the call next week, because I tell you, Jordan is one of the top income earners in the profession. He started with a company that approached me years ago. And I thought, there's no way that product could ever make it. You know, it was one of those kind of companies. There's no way. I laughed at it. I totally laughed at the opportunity. So Jordan joins this company. I have to give everyone this bleep. Jordan is not at the top of the company, but he is the top income earner of the company, and yet he's so many levels down from the top. So you don't have to be the top of your company, at the top of your tree, to make the biggest check. And he's a good example of this. And Jordan makes close to 200 grand a month. 200 grand a month doing a business that I laughed at, that I thought, no way will it ever make it. That's so much part of our story next week. And not only that, let me just say this. There's a guy that's a few levels above him that met him at one of their conventions and shook his hand. He said, I want to introduce myself. I just need to shake your hand. He said, I only signed up one person in my career in this company that he was in, that Jordan is in now. And he said, and you're under me. He said, I make $40,000 a month and I signed up one person. That's network marketing. It's just amazing what it will accomplish if you just are in the right place at the right time. And Jordan, being under this gentleman, exploded. He was a star. He became a galaxy, and it turned into an amazing, accomplished story of success. So this is our guest next Thursday night, Jordan Adler. He's going to be joining Mario and I as we present the Sustained Prosperity System webinar and the winning approach. Thank you all so much for being with us. Mario?
Yes, thank you for joining us. And Jeff, I have to say that, I learned a lot in South Korea, and I saw firsthand how these leaders, analyzed the system and the power of two, what you talked about tonight, and really are taking that to heart, and they're training and they're duplicating, and they're super excited. And as you know, I have teams in Mexico that are doing the same thing. They have their folders, they have their steps, they're filling it out, and they're starting to duplicate, and there's this renewed energy. And for me, as their leader, it's really super, super exciting. And so I appreciate everything and for awesome training tonight. Thank you all for joining us.
See y'all next week, same time, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Eastern Daylight Time right now, actually. 10 p.m. next Thursday night, Jordan Allen. Thanks, Mario. Thanks, everyone, for joining us tonight. All right. God bless.